You are watching ESPN's Feast Week presented by Lowe's. This is the Advocare Invitational, the 12th year here at Disney's Wide World of Sports. Arkansas won the first, Gonzaga won the last, and one of these teams will be in the championship game Sunday, as Missouri battles undefeated St. John's. Missouri yesterday taking care of business against Long Beach State. It was the Jonte Porter show, showing the range from three, showing the defense, 1 of 4 blocks, and yes, he can finish as well at 6 feet, 11 inches tall. Porter was good from start to finish. 15 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 blocks as Mizzou dominates 95-58. For St. John's, a lot more drama. They trailed almost the entire game against Oregon State. Then Marcus Levette got things started early with a 3. He started the heat up late with another jump shot. Shamari Pons would pick up steam when they needed it most. He finished with 26 points, a perfect 15 of 15 for the free throw line. That is how we got to this point. Missouri taking on St. John's today in the winner's bracket. 2 other teams that won will face off later on today on ESPN2. That'll be UCF and West Virginia. SEC Big East Showdown, the starting 5 for Mizzou. A mixture of freshmen with Tillman and Harris. Not to mention Porter coming off the bench, and some veterans as well, including Jordan Barnett, the senior. Starting 5, St. John's is led by guards, and there is a marked differential between size that you'll notice early on in this game. St. John's much smaller, but St. John's much quicker as well. Mike Morgan, Tim Welsh, we're underway here in Orlando.
Like a lot of hard-nosed, physical man-to-man defense.
And how about a 3 right off the bat from straight away? That's Marvin Clark, the former Michigan State Spartan.
St. John's is undefeated on the season. They won yesterday, but as Chris Mullen told us before the game, we have not really played well yet offensively. Good start.
And there's almost a steal. Levette stepped out of bounds, but you see the quick hands, and that's something we'll see a lot of from St. John's.
Oregon State have major problems with St. John's pressure, especially entering the ball. And that man right there has got this team playing hard-nosed defense.
St. John's yesterday against Oregon State forcing 21 turnovers. Barnett lobs it down low. This is Tillman, very talented freshman big man. And Tillman goes to work, missed it wildly. Got his own rebound and rattles one home.
He just stayed with it down low, and you see the explosion and the strength of Jeremiah Tillman. Yesterday had a very good game for Missouri, staying out of foul trouble for the first time all season.
Kick out pass, Levette dragged that pivot foot. And the first turnover of the game against St. John's.
When you break this game down, obviously St. John's, the quickness sticks out, but Missouri's got a lot of quickness themselves, and Blake Harris did a very good job at running the point yesterday, and Missouri had some outstanding statistics. 22 assists, 12 turnovers, made 10 threes, good decisions, and then their bigs were very solid.
Furrier, the veteran, that one might have been partially blocked by Clark, and a nice job to throw it off a St. John's player. That was Barnett keeping it alive for Mizzou.
Maybe 11 in the morning here, Eastern time, Mike, but these teams have come ready to play. You can see they both want this game very badly. It's important because I think both these teams are kind of under the radar on the cusp of, well, maybe we'll be good, maybe we might not be, but this game can put one of these teams over the hump early.
Ball by Tillman, and he draws a foul, and that is the biggest concern for St. John's today, is it not rebounding, boxing out, offensive rebounds for Mizzou.
Well, their guards have to do a better job than they did yesterday in the first part of the game of digging in and helping out their bigs. I mean, I think St. John's will be a fine rebounding team when they play in conference. They are undersized and they don't have a lot of depth, but they do have a lot of strength and athleticism across the board, and that means at the guard spot too. Levette and Pons have to dig in along with Simon and help on the glass.
You know, to your point, how these teams have come out, plenty of energy and emotion early on in this game. These are two programs that have kind of mirrored one another in the fact that they both really struggled the last few years and now seem to have a rebirth, a renaissance, if you will, with two new coaches. Chris Mullen in his third year with a rebuilding job, and it's Conzo Martin in his first year with Mizzou. It's Robertson on the clear. Robertson, the transfer from Canisius, tries to angle it in down low, but the pass is wide of the mark to Tillman.
Well, that's what St. John's defense does to you offensively. It makes you rush things. And instead of just taking your time and let things develop, move the ball from side to side, sometimes you try to hit the quick hitter and their defense prevails.
Pull-up jumper by Simon kicks off the iron. Harris, the freshman, had a great opening game. 9 assists, just 1 turnover to go along with 11 points. He is filling that void at point guard, which Cuonzo was concerned about at the beginning of the year. They tried a few different guys at that spot. Another offensive rebound, but then Tillman throws it away on a blind pass.
Tillman's got to go right up with that.
Feeds his fellow backcourt mate, and that is Shamari Pons. Chris Mullen was talking to us before the game. He says, Pons is a much better shooter than what he has shown. He's really struggled from 3 this year.
He made the big ones when it counted yesterday, and he's taking off where he left off. And then there's Robertson right back at you.
That's what Cassius Robertson does best. The Canadian Cassius from Canisius, who shot 41% at Canisius a year ago. One of those grad transfers, which is such a controversial rule in college basketball. There's an air ball, but an offensive rebound and almost a chance at a three-point play. Simon will go to the line.
That's the lift that Justin Simon gives St. John's. You talk about a lift, Shamari Pons, he starts knocking down shots. He will be absolutely unguardable because he's so good off the bounce with both hands. And Robertson yesterday feeling a lot more comfortable at that 2-guard spot, and a good move by Cuonzo Martin, just putting Blake Harris at the point along with Jordan Geist. But those 2 guys did a very good job running the team, which allows Robertson to move off the ball where he's more comfortable and look for his shots.
Substitutions for Missouri, including Cullen Van Leer, the junior sharpshooter, checking in, and Jordan Geist, who had a really big opening game in the victory against Long Beach State. That's just icing on the sundae when they're getting production out of those 2 guys off the bench.
Keep your guys humbled a little bit during these tournaments, even after wins, but I'm not sure Cuonzo could have said anything negative to his team last night in the hotel. Today with pretty good focus against this St. John's pressure.
Courier, nice move inside. Missed it, followed, no good. How about a third time? Yes.
Right now, Missouri's doing a good job with the second and third efforts. They're just kind of body slamming St. John's right under the rim to get up on the glass.
Simon, nice pass to the cutting Yakwe, who played well in the opening game in the win over Oregon State. He'll have a pair of free throws.
Courier, this is what he does. He can really get to the free throw line. He's a strong lefty. Good job on the contest, but he just stays with it, and St. John's has to dig in as well. And then Simon, good look, drawing the defense. Then back to Yakwe.
Yakwe, who is an all Big East freshman performer. His game has not really evolved since then. He's kind of regressed a little bit. He gives you athleticism and defense right off the bat, but I'd like to see him be more aggressive on the offensive end.
Well, that's a good point, Mike. I think yesterday's game was his best game he's had at St. John's since his freshman year. 8 points, 5 rebounds off the bench. He did a really good job defensively, had a nice putback dunk in that comeback at the end of the game. So that's a good sign if he can come in and give him some good minutes as a backup forward.
Jonte Porter in the game for Mizzou. A little pick and pop play that he has fallen in love with in his young career, and he gets it this time down low. Pump fake, shot up and in. Jonte Porter, 15 in the first game, and his first 2 in the second game.
St. John's has to do a better job of bodying up on Porter, because if he gets any room down low, he's got those long arms, great hands, and very good feet.
Pons on a triple. No, and there's Porter. Fouled as he cradles the rebound. Jonte Porter, who just turned 18 years of age. Exciting opening stanza here in Orlando.
There's a new Porter running the show in Missouri, and it's the lefty, number 11. Just turned 18. Gosh, he's young but tough.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Advocare. To learn more about the comprehensive offering of nutritional products, go to advocare.com. Gildan, love your dad, but don't wear his underwear. Gildan, every thread counts. And ESPN Wide World of Sports Complex at Walt Disney World Resort. The ultimate sports experience for athletes, families, coaches, and fans.
Party season is Chick-fil-A catering season.
A blockbuster season continues with the PK80s.
College basketball season is back with a vengeance.
16 teams.
This is incredible.
24 games.
That gets my juices flowing, man.
2 brackets.
That is big time.
And now it all comes down to 2 championship games on one Sonic Blockbuster night. The PK80 championship games tip tomorrow at 8:30 on ESPN.
Happy day after Thanksgiving here from Orlando, the 12th annual Advocare Invitational. Missouri out to a 2-point lead, 11-9 our score. Welcome, everybody. Mike Morgan, he is the coach, Tim Welsh. And, Tim, when you look at these two teams, you've got Missouri, one of the biggest teams in the SEC. St. John's, one of the smallest teams in the Big East. How do those two styles contrast with one another?
Well, it's great basketball so far because both teams are just getting after it defensively without fouling. You see Missouri doing a really good job on the glass, trying to force their will, impose their will inside, looking inside to their bigs. But St. John's, they're going to push the ball up the court. They're going to open the court up and try to dribble drive, get to the rim, and put some pressure on Missouri's back line to defend them at the rim and possibly get them in foul trouble.
Shamari Pons was brilliant late in that opening win over Oregon State. He finished with 26 points, 6 assists, not a single turnover. That's what you want out of point guard play. And you and I were talking before the game, the thing that these players love about playing for Chris Mullin, Chris is an all-time great scorer. He's an NBA guy. He's not going to get on you if you miss a few shots. He instills confidence in his players.
Well, he does. I think he expects to win every game, and he just thinks they're going to win every game or every possession out there on the floor. And if they make a mistake, he's like, okay, let's move on to the next play. Don't dwell on it. And I think that's why he's going to be a very, very good coach moving forward.
That ball knocked out of bounds. Chris Mullin, who was teed up yesterday, had 4 technical fouls and an ejection in his first year. He will let the officials know his opinion on things, and he's going to win this argument. And that's a good call. Looked like it was off of Jonte Porter out of bounds.
Well, they had a little summit meeting, and Konzo's not happy with it, how the trail official could make the call on the baseline, but Ray Steins had a good angle, obviously.
Ray Steins, James Breeding, Zelton Steed, our officials today. Whistle down low will go against Mizzou.
Chris likes the extended coaching box. It's more NBA-like for his liking.
Yeah, we went from 28 to 38 feet, and I can tell you I've not heard a coach yet that does not like those extra 10 feet of real estate.
By the way, when he told me this morning that the technical he got, he said he was barking at one of his players, and that's, I don't think I deserve that. Deserving and getting one are two different things, and there's a foul call that not everyone's happy with.
Yeah, Konzo Martin not happy with that call. I don't know if Jonte left his feet on this one, but he made a little contact.
Med gets in there, and Jonte Porter just gets into the body of Ahmed down low, and up top I think he was okay, but I think he just gave him a little bump.
Ahmed, a shaky free throw shooter overall, buries the first one. 1-point game. St. John's went through a really tough stretch before Chris Mullin took over. Now in his 3rd year, they finished 8th in the Big East last year, a conference that had 7 bids. Missouri, meanwhile, is going to go against Lovett. Missouri, meanwhile, only won 8 games a year ago. They went through a really rough 3-year stretch, but now have an incredible recruiting class with a mixture of some quality veteran players such as Barnett, Puryear, and Phillips. And both these programs seem to be on the rise.
Well, there's no question about it. we talked about it yesterday, Cuonzo Martin. I really liked what he said at his opening press conference. I'm not into rebuilding. I'm into getting it done now. So he went out and got players, and he's put his stamp on the program early with their trademark tough defense.
Already 4 ties in this first half. Under 15 minutes to go. Van Leer going to launch a 3. That's what he's in the game for. You know, when 33 in black is on the floor, he's looking for the 3.
Well, that's why these tournaments are so good for guys like Van Leer. He came in kind of ice cold and not really in rhythm, but he caught his rhythm yesterday, and it's a continuation today of confidence.
As a young man whose confidence was shot a year ago, he did not look very comfortable shooting the basketball at all. Now his whole game is coming around as he rips away the rebound. Porter, pump fake, now he'll fire. The rebound ripped down by St. John's Justin Simon, the former Arizona Wildcat. Simon gives it right back to Porter. Porter threads the needle on the pass, and Robertson has it swatted away by Tariq Owens, the former Tennessee Volunteer. 3 on the other end, though. And a whistle down low. Waiting for the indication.
These officials better have got their rest last night, because they're in for an up and down battle with both teams being very physical on the perimeter and at the rim. And there you see Owens just staying with the play, and what timing at the rack.
Tariq Owens with his 16th block shot of the year. Chris Mullen has him come off the bench, but as coach was telling us, he could easily come in 30 seconds into a game. He could play 35 minutes depending on how everything is working out in terms of foul trouble.
Well, that's a good move by Chris. He understands it. It's better for Owens just to come in and get a little feel for the game, and keeps him clean with the foul situation for a few minutes.
Last foul was on Tillman. He's got 2 early fouls. Under 14 to go, first half. This is Simon, guarded by Van Leer. Owens. Back to Lovett with 10 to shoot. Trying to thread the needle to Owens, and that's turned over. Poked away and stolen. St. John's with another steal. Clark alley-oop pass. And St. John's a little sloppy that time with the basketball. Jump ball, and the arrow goes to Mizzou.
Well, St. John's great defense down on this end of the floor, and they really bothered Missouri. Missouri picked up their dribble, had nowhere to go, but sometimes St. John's gets a little bit too cute in transition, and there you see it. And Arnett picked up his dribble, but then there's no reason for that pass. Just be solid and get the 2.
St. John's has turned it over its last 3 possessions. Missouri taking advantage up 3 with the basketball. We saw this yesterday. What's the point of the 3-man weave up top?
Well, it's just to get a little false motion, and then what they'll do is they'll run the big man up and set a ball screen if you start to relax. But that time, Nico got a little bit caught moving as he set the pick.
Second foul on Nico.
And I like that offense in theory against St. John's, because if you try to throw long entry passes against their pressure, that's where they really can get up in the passing lanes and force some turnovers. So if they turn their head and relax on those handoffs, Missouri has the ability to turn the corner and get into the gaps.
Lovett, strong take to the hole and draws the foul. He is so quick. Lovett and Pons have a different gear.
Well, they do, and they're both left-handed. Pons is very good with both hands. You can't really overplay him one side or the other. But Lovett, you've got to get on that strong hand. But with great players, even with their strong hand, they find a way to get an angle there. And that was a good little jab step. Got the defender Van Leer off balance and just exploded to the rim right from the three-point line.
3 fouls on Nico. He will go to the bench. And Porter will check in for Mizzou. Again, they have big bodies and an abundance of them. Well, even when one guy gets in foul trouble, they have other guys that can fill the void. St. John's really does not have that luxury. Van Leer, step back three on the way. And another offensive rebound from Mizzou. That's 7. Something to keep an eye out in this game. Again, they've got such a size advantage. Puryear launches. Puryear delivers.
Missouri is doing an excellent job of just chasing down those loose balls. They haven't been able to go inside much to Porter, but finding other ways to attack.
Clark measures a 3. An offensive foul on St. John's. Cleanup is on Owens going for the rebound.
Missouri yesterday was 10 for 24 from the 3, and they like shooting in this building. They continue to be hot.
They should control their own destiny. If they win out, they should be in.
Oh no, we're gonna go to a single shot here of my.
Oh, you call
no,
this?
freeze that!
You call
freeze
it.
that!
Stop it. Stop.
Freeze it! Look at my neck is hanging over my collar. Do I have a snack under the table?
True freshman Taiwan Bickford had 18 points and 18 rebounds against NC State. He's led UNI into the championship game against Villanova. Jalen Brunson, the team leader, averaging over 21 his last 2 games. Nova tries to become the first to ever win the Battle for Atlantis twice. We'll see you at noon Eastern time as Dick Vitale joins me, Carl Ravitch on ESPN2.
That should be a lot of fun. Villanova, of course, one of the favorites in that event. Northern Iowa trying to pull off the upset. That'll be at noon Eastern time on ESPN2. 46 games in total on the ESPN networks between yesterday and today. Turkey and hoops before you can sit back and just relax, watch a whole lot of college football tomorrow on a great day. Rivalry weekend in college football. Mike Morgan, Tim Welsh, back with you here in Orlando. Missouri, St. John's, 2 teams that rarely face one another. The winner will be in the championship game that'll be held on Sunday. Right now, the other bracket favorite would have to be West Virginia. They'll take on UCF later on today. Porter. The entry pass to Puryear, a whistle and a foul. And then a technical foul. Did they call that on Clark? We had a game yesterday with St. John's and Oregon State that had 5 technical fouls.
Well, Marvin Clark did not like the call. And,
yeah. I read the lips on that last word, I can tell you that. That was not in the Thanksgiving spirit.
James Breeding probably doesn't read lips well, but I'm sure he heard it.
Puryear knocks down the first free throw. Evan Puryear trimmed 10 pounds in the offseason. In much better shape this year. You see Chris Mullen trying to defend his players on the last technical.
Well, there's no defense of Marvin Clark getting a technical foul. Now he's got 3 fouls with 11:41 to go, and they're down 6 points. He's too important of a player. He's a veteran, experienced player. He's got to keep his composure. I mean, the officials are going to miss a call. Just got to play the game, and too much yapping. All these teams.
Good point. Puryear left it short. A rebound off to the Johnnies and Ahmed. 6-point Missouri lead. St. John's comes into this game 5-0 on the season.
A lot of standing around right now for St. John's on the offensive end. Missouri imposing their will defensively.
Pond, shake and bake, pull up from 15. That is silky smooth. Chris Mullen, I asked him, so who does Pons remind you of if you had to pick a guy? So he's got a little bit of Nick Van Exel
a little bit, and that was a good move. Puryear just had to on the retreat, a little bit too quick for Puryear, but Porter a little bit too long at the top.
He is not a guy at 6'11" that you can leave open in 3-point range. Silky smooth jumper for Jonte Porter.
Porter is just knows how to play the game. He really lets everything just come to him. Doesn't force.
Phillips tracks down the rebound. Phillips, the junior, finds Porter. Spin move, kick out to Van Leer. Here comes Lovett. Off to Pons. Too much English on the layup, and then out of bounds. It will be Missouri basketball.
Interesting today, Konza Martin inserts Terrence Phillips into the game early, and yesterday he just kind of sat there most of the night and most of the afternoon and just was positive and a cheerleader on the sideline. And today he just inserts him early, and you can see his leadership ability and his toughness on defense. Probably playing him here a little bit earlier today because of the quickness of St. John's guards, and Phillips can offset that a little bit.
Said Phillips could be the mayor of Columbia, Mizzou, if he wants to. Just a natural-born personality and leadership, always talking, always wanting to say hello to folks. Konza Martin hopes to get a few votes for mayor in his home state of Missouri. Grew up in East St. Louis, and right now waiting on the review here of this last play. You see the two players getting tangled up. That's Phillips and Pons.
Well, I think they're trying to determine who the shooter is on the foul.
Incidentally, the foul did go against Bashir Ahmed. Already, Missouri is in the bonus. And at the free throw line is Jordan Barnett. Former Texas Longhorn Jordan Barnett. A guy that Konza was telling us he believes Jordan, as good as he is, as gifted as he is, he can be better if he just gets a little bit tougher. He wants him to stay. All these big guys now want to go outside and shoot threes. He doesn't need Barnett to do that.
You can watch Kevin Purrier and just be more physical on the baseline, and Barnett would be well schooled to do that. And good offense there by St. John's.
Good look for Lovett. But too strong on the three. 9-point lead for Mizzou with the basketball. Barnett on a triple. Maybe that's why he wants to shoot him.
Well, Konza Martin wants him to drive, but you're standing there by yourself on the wing, 1001, 1002. I'm going to knock this in, and St. John's not communicating in transition. Barnett finding himself all alone. He's like, should I shoot it? Yes, sir. I'd knock it in as well.
Nuggets Jazz at 10, Tuesday on ESPN.
9:52 to play. Missouri in the midst of a 13-2 run as the lead swells to 12 over the Red Storm of St. John's.
Well, that was a good timeout by Chris Mullen. He just has to reorganize his team a little bit. They ran a good offensive set. Didn't come up with anything, but then coming back on D after the miss, they just didn't communicate and seem a little bit out of it right now after that technical foul on Clark.
Simon. Cut off by Barnett. Simon in trouble. Got to avoid a 5 count and then gets it back. Alley-oop pass. Owens can't hold on to it at the rim.
Owens made a nice play at the rim. Just couldn't put the mitts on it. Missouri's strength bothering St. John's now around the rim.
Inside, too strong. Kevin Purrier.
Oh, that's a weight room shot right there by Purrier. He just backed in and said, try to stop me. I'm going up and getting it done.
9 points for the junior. Product out of Blue Springs, Missouri. A little bit of a danger zone right now for St. John's. That bucket will count, and a foul on Mizzou.
Well, that's what Shamori Pons does. He's a bailout guy for St. John's. Finds a way to make something out of nothing, but this is Purrier. He makes something out of just being so strong, and St. John's better dig down on him and give him a little support on the box, and that's just a back-in fadeaway from a great player.
A bad foul by Cassius Robertson, hitting Pons from behind on the jump shot. Oh, a three-point play for the young man who was a perfect 15 for 15 for the free throw line yesterday. 8 points for Pons. The lead cut to 11. Geist with a strong take and hits the deck as he's fouled. Jordan Geist really just kind of a glue guy overall, but caught fire off the bench yesterday. 16 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Really a career game for the junior out of Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Well, we talked at the beginning of the game, Mike, about St. John's is being able to battle Missouri down low. And now with Clark on the bench, Owens on the bench, and Ahmed on the bench, they are dreadfully small, and their guards are really going to have to pick up the pace. Maybe Chris will throw a little pressure on Missouri to see if they can handle it.
Well, you brought up a good point. Missouri's not just big. I mean, they don't have stiffs out there playing the post. They have athletic and quick big men. Kick out pass sets up the open three. Knocked down. That's Pons making that play happen, and Simon buries the triple.
Nice drive and kick out of the spacing, and then on the recovery, Simon.
Simon on the run out.
We said it yesterday, Mike. St. John's plays like they don't even know there's a scoreboard. They just keep they just keep playing. It doesn't matter to them, and that's why they're never out of a game.
Phillips goes all the way. And tracked down and leading the dime to Phillips. Nice play by Barnett.
Well, Missouri fortunate there. It looked like Yaqua took one right in the chest, but no call.
Dangerous pass, and Porter, who's 6'11" and long, just jumps up and swipes it. Barnett steps into a three. Another offensive rebound. They just continue. That's 9 of them for Mizzou.
Well, that has nothing to do with size. Obviously, Jordan Geist just outworking St. John's. Their guards have to do a much better job at digging in and recover those missed threes.
Baseline. That's a high arcing rainbow shot dropped in by Barnett.
And Barnett's come to play here in Orlando. He had a very good game yesterday, solid on both ends, and today mixing up his game from the three-point line and now on the baseline.
13 second chance points for Mizzou. Shot clock at 5 for Levette. Kick out pass, long three on the way. And a rare offensive rebound for St. John's. Couple of touch passes, kick out to Simon. Levette fades and fires.
Tough shot. Possible. That's just a low percentage shot by Levette. St. John's has to work the clock a little bit better to get better opportunities.
Porter, nice feed down low, and getting hacked on the play was Barnett. .6:11 to play. Missouri up by 14.
Don't miss the Audi 2017 MLS Cup playoffs. Thursday on ESPN, it's Seattle versus Houston at 10:30 Eastern.
Texans, Ravens, Monday, 8:15 Eastern on ESPN.
6:11 to play. Missouri on top by 14 in the midst of a 13-1 run. And right now, Tim Welsh, it is all going good for the Tigers.
Well, it's going good because they're sharing the basketball. They're pushing the pace a little bit. And then when they have to play in the half court, they're going 4 around 1. And they're really moving the ball before St. John's can adjust their defense and rotate. And sometimes when St. John's doesn't communicate, Missouri has made them pay in a lot of different ways. They're not beating them just one way, but they're getting up on the boards. They're scrappy with the loose balls, and they're sharing the basketball, and they're knocking down their shots.
14-point lead for Mizzou, shooting 42% from the field. They shot over 50% in the opening win. And if you watched Missouri basketball last year, you realize what an eye-popping number that is. This team shot 39% from the field last year, one of the worst marks in all of college basketball. And there was nowhere to go but up. And on top of the better shooting, obviously a better rebounding team this year. And just overall, we have watched now in 2 games this squad really playing together, gelling extremely well.
Well, on the defensive end of the floor, they're communicating. You know, they're all in a stance. They put good pressure on the basketball. They rotate well. They help each other. And St. John's has not been able to get any flow going offensively.
Out of bounds to St. John's with 11 on the shot clock.
The thing that's impressive to me about Missouri on the defensive end of the floor is that they're really physical, Mike, but they do it without fouling.
Right.
And, you know, that comes from being in great condition, being taught well, and understanding that you've got to move on the pass as one.
Pons knocks down the 3. That's a good sign for Chris Bowen at St. John's. He's hit a couple of threes. He really struggled coming into this tournament.
Well, sometimes they just shoot those off-balance shots. When they're in rhythm, on balance, he and Lovett are tough.
Back to the weave up top for Mizzou. This is Porter to Barnett. 3 to shoot. Porter's going to have to heave it. Porter in the trees, missed it. Another offensive rebound, and finally corralled by the Red Storm.
Porter made a nice play. The understanding of the clock running down, just somehow got it up on the rim.
Under 5 minutes to go, first half. St. John's trying to cut into a 13-point deficit. That one rattles out. Geist clears it for Mizzou. Geist with a nifty drive. He just kind of lulled everybody to sleep.
Well, he refused the screen at the top, coming down as the trailer. Porter was going to set that ball screen, and St. John's overplayed it. He just found an open alley and got all the way to the rim.
Tough shot there by Pons. St. John's getting nothing inside. It is all perimeter here in the first half. Porter wheels, deals, had it blocked. And into the hands of Pons, ahead to Lovett. Lovett with the left hand.
Those two guys have some quick hands. If you are loose with the ball, goodbye. They're going the other way.
And then Geist dribbled it off his leg.
St. John's has struggled in the half court, but if they can force some turnovers and get out in transition, usually good things happen with Lovett and Pons.
Don't miss the Audi 2017 MLS Cup playoffs. Thursday on ESPN, it's Seattle versus Houston at 10:30 Eastern.
They say I can't think I would be late, and if I just got 1 in a million, I'm gonna take my chances.
9:26, Missouri picking up where they left off in a blowout win against Long Beach State in the opener, up by 13. The PK80 going on and going strong in Oregon. Duke taking on Texas today, 5:30 ESPN. And then 11:30, it'll be a rematch of the semifinal that we had a year ago here. The Florida Gators taking on the Bulldogs of Gonzaga. Florida right now offensively has been a juggernaut in the early part of the season.
Gonzaga is better than I think people thought they would be coming in, and Duke struggled long and hard with Portland State. Portland State made a bunch of threes in the first half, but Duke righted the ship in the second half, tightening up their defense.
Great field out there in honor of Phil Knight, his upcoming 80th birthday. Nice backdoor cut and feed. Owens finds Pons for the deuce.
One of the first times today that you saw Missouri playing defense with their hands down and allowed Owens that nice entry from the back door from the top.
13 for Pons. It's only the second basket in the paint for the Red Storm. And another foul on St. John's.
It was a good play coming out of the timeout by Chris Mullen, but you see Jonte Porter playing way off Owens, and this allows him easy vision to throw that bounce pass to Pons.
How'd you like to try and cover Shamori Pons on a backdoor cut?
Wouldn't want to cover him anywhere. That guy, he's constantly moving. And the thing about he and Levette that I like, and Chris has really done a good job of teaching that to these guards. You know, these guards are so good with the basketball, but they're very good without the basketball as well. They don't just stand around waiting for the ball. They move without the ball. They have good understanding of spacing and playing with each other out and their teammates on the offensive end.
Final 3 and change of half number 1. St. John's get it back into single digits. Here's Levette on a pull-up 3, and that was blocked by Barnett. A little bit greedy with that shot.
Well, he's rushed things today. There's no doubt about it. He's got to let the game come to him while still playing with some speed.
Puryear on an offensive foul.
Puryear just try to use his big back a little bit too much down there in the low box, trying to carve out some space.
Shoving Ali Begovic in the game right now. His father actually played for Oregon State in this field. Levette around the screen. Pons got in the lane, kick out to Levette on a 3. That's their game. It's the Pons and Levette show.
Well, again, that's to our point. They can both play with or without the ball. Usually guys that love the ball can't play without it, but that time you saw Levette doing a good job spotting up Pons. Unselfish.
One of the things you look for in a team that has some adversity early going, mental toughness. You won't find a more mentally tough team in St. John's. That starts with their head coach, Chris Mullen. Van Leer left alone on a 3. An air ball. 2 minutes remaining. Simon. Flying pass. Owens. No. Follow. No. Owens again. Had it stripped by Phillips. Loose basketball picked up by Porter.
Well, that's just a case of Tariq Owens not being strong enough to battle with those Missouri power forwards down low, and they just 2 or 3 of them on his back. He just couldn't secure it and finish it.
Three to shoot for Puryear. To Van Leer. At the buzzer. Did he get it off in time? No. Shot clock violation. Great defense by St. John's.
They've stepped up their game on the defensive end of the floor. Make a few shots, and that's giving them a little bit more of a pop in their step defensively. They've got a nice group of people here following them, and now the St. John's faithful alive and well.
Don't forget, coming up at the half, PK80 highlights coming at you, as well as an update on the battle for Atlantis. Again, UNI taking on Villanova. It'll be the championship game noon on ESPN, and a thriller in the preseason NIT. It's all coming up. Great action here. 46 games in the last 2 days, yesterday and today combined on the ESPN networks. Turkey and hoops, a winning combination. We've had a matchup of 2 winning teams here today. One team, St. John's or Missouri, will advance to the championship game on Sunday, taking on the winner of West Virginia UCF, which comes up later this evening. Simon gliding, rejected by Porter. He had 4 swats yesterday. There's 1 today.
That was real good defense by Missouri. St. John's has a couple sets they were trying to get into. They just never got organized, and you see the great footwork and timing of Porter.
4 to shoot. Lovett. 2 to shoot. Got to let it go. It will count if it does, and it certainly does for Shamare Pons from about 35 feet.
Well, Begovic was going to take it. He said, wait a minute, I'm going to go to the guy who can make a shot from out here.
16 points for Pons, who has put on a show in the first half.
Well, when you're in trouble, you know who to call. Number 2, this is what you do if you're from Brooklyn. You just lock it up, load, and release. Just like somebody else used to play at St. John's and wore number 20 and was a lefty. Goodness.
That's some Steph Curry range, or maybe some Chris Mullin range as well.
There you go.
Missouri led this game by 16 points roughly 5 minutes ago. They're on a 13-3 run, and then now all of a sudden that Red Storm faithful getting fired up behind the St. John's bench. Again, this is what they're playing for, the championship game, which will be held Sunday night, 9:30 Eastern Time on ESPN2. West Virginia, kind of the de facto favorite in this event. They'll take on Taco Fall and UCF at 5 o'clock on ESPN2 today.
West Virginia had all they could handle last night from Marist.
Yes, they did. The Red Foxes came to play.
They came all the way down from Poughkeepsie, representing the MAC, and they did a nice job. But West Virginia's got a lot of answers, especially with their pressure.
Tough pass inside. And Puryear on a pump fake got everybody to leave their feet, draws the foul. This is the guy, to me, everybody when they talk Missouri basketball this year is going to rave about the freshman, and justifiably so. But Kevin Puryear is the rock of this team. And he's been a solid player for 2 years. You haven't heard about him because Missouri has really struggled the last 2 years, but not because of him. He has been a smooth player. He's kind of stoic on the court, just goes out there with his lunch pail, does all the hard work you need him to. He rededicated himself in the weight room, cut some excess baggage this year to the tune of 10 pounds gone. And it's just a really complete player.
Well, you know, college basketball has become the game of the young guns. There's no doubt about it. But every coach will tell you that has all these young, really great young players. You have to have some men out there. And that's what Puryear gives Missouri and Konzo. And, you know, a guy you can rely on every night that's going to do things the way you want it to get it done.
St. John's will play for the final shot. Got to be Pons, right?
High ball screen. Missouri switching it.
Pons. Look at that shot by Shamare Pons. And that will put an end to a first half that the young man out of Brooklyn, New York, put on a display. 18 points for Pons to make it a 6-point game.
That was quite a show. Chris Mullin told us he hasn't played well offensively yet, but the last part of this half, you see the lefty going to the right, creating some space.
42-36, our halftime score. Stay tuned for the halftime update. Plenty to come, including updates from around the land. We're back from Orlando in a moment.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Lowe's. Hurry in today for huge savings on all things winter.
This week presented by Lowe's. This is the Advocare Invitational here at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Missouri, on top of St. John's by a score of 42-36. A spurtable first half. Mike Morgan alongside Tim Welsh. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Glad to have you along. And Tim, And for a time there, it looked like Mizzou could run away with this thing. The Tigers were up by 16 points, but give St. John's credit, they got back into it.
Well, Missouri imposed their will early with good defense, solid offense, a lot of balance to their offense. They really shared the basketball. They spaced the floor, and when they had to, they imposed their will with their size. They beat St. John's up on the backboards, and St. John's was lost for a long period of this first half on both ends of the floor, and then Shamorie Ponds put his cape on and said, I'm going to get us back in this game all by myself. And that's what he can do. He can score in a lot of different ways, and he is very hard to guard. Missouri's going to have to adjust their defense, give some help, and make somebody else beat them off the bounce and from the perimeter.
Ponds already with 44 points in 2 games in this tournament. He has 9 assists and not a single turnover. That is some strong play from your point guard.
Well, he just keeps going, and he's so good with both hands. It's difficult to defend, especially in their pick and roll game. So if he gets any space at all, usually good things happen.
Ponds on a pull-up. Missouri did not shoot the ball particularly well in the first half, just 39%. But they out-rebounded St. John's 25-11. They had 10 offensive rebounds using that size advantage in the first half. Puryear probes the baseline, whips it out, sets up Robertson on a 3. Barnett grabs another offensive rebound. That's 11, and he's fouled. Now, St. John's is not real big, but I have a feeling Missouri is going to cause even bigger teams fits on the offensive glass.
Well, it hasn't been Marvin Clark's day, that's for sure. Started with the technical foul. Now he's got the 4th foul with 19-17 left in the game. So the bench did a good job at the end of the first half without Clark.
A lot of pressure on Tariq Owens to pick up the slack now for a while. Here's Ponds streaking ahead of the pack, and Ponds banks it home. 20 points for Ponds.
Well, when St. John's gets organized and doesn't try to be too cute in transition, they are devastating, usually finishing right at the rim. Ponds, tough with the left.
Well, that hounding Harris in the backcourt. Harris tries to throw it down low, and that's a turnover on the Tigers.
There's a better job by Marcus Lovett defending that pick and roll, but St. John's in transition. We talked about it, and they're just solid. Fill the lanes, make the easy, simple pass. They can be very, very dangerous.
Chris Mullen, 3-time Big East Player of the Year, and that, folks, was when the Big East was king back in the mid-'80s. There was not a better league in college basketball. 5-time NBA All-Star. It's going to be a travel and a turnover on Ahmed. And, yeah, when you think of St. John's, you immediately think of kind of the patriarch of the program and a guy I know you're very familiar with, Louis Carnesecca.
Well, just a legend, obviously, and still attending the games and beloved. There's no doubt about it. And I think one of the announcers, maybe it was Jim Spinarco, I heard on a broadcast, call him the Pope. And it was a great, great name for Louis. He's just, Chris loves that Louis is still around and giving his full support. Sure, watching today with a bowl of linguine at his side.
Shot clock down to 2. Throwing up a prayer was Robertson. And it's going to be a shot clock violation. The ball did not hit the rim. A great defense again displayed by St. John's.
St. John's needs to just take their time and wait for Missouri to make a mistake. And they just stay same side with their offense and don't reverse the ball or get much movement. That's when they've taken tough shots and Missouri's defense has prevailed.
That's Geis just bumping that. Easy call for the officials there. Now, much like Chris Mullen, St. John's plays with a little bit of an edge, a little bit of a chip on their shoulder.
Well, they do, but they must remember that they have to run things through Ponds, and they forget about him out there on the floor. That's when they try to go one-on-one and make bad decisions.
Open 3, nicely delivered by Bashir Ahmed, a 31% three-point shooter. And would you believe what was once a 16-point deficit is now down to 1. And now a steal and a foul on Puryear, and St. John's marinating in momentum here on the day after Thanksgiving.
Well, on that last offensive set, it's very obvious what Justin Simon already brings to this program. At 6'5", he can play the point. He's a very good passer, has good vision. He's unselfish. You see that uses that length to get into the lane, but has that ability to find the open man, and allows them to put their scorers off the ball. Levette and Pons, that time Ahmed spotting up in the corner.
Simon dribbling it out of bounds.
Yeah, there's nowhere to go. Simon made a good play on the last possession. There, instead of just reversing the ball, taking his time, he tried to dribble into traffic.
I'm with you. The ball has to be in Shamari Pons' hands every possession.
Well, he's a great scorer, but he's also unselfish, and he's going to draw a lot of attention, which will open up other things for the St. John's players.
Tillman, he's been quiet today, got into early foul trouble, but a nice move there.
Just used his power. He kind of hooked Owens down low and stayed with it.
Just 6 points for the freshman from East St. Louis, same hometown as his head coach, Gonzo Martin. 3 ball from the corner. St. John's is lighting it up from outside. That's Simon. And Levette whistled for a foul in the backcourt.
Well, St. John's does a very good job of using the corners. They space the floor. A lot of teams kind of creep up to that wing, but now they really stretch the defense out by dribble driving into the gap. And again, you see the unselfish play of Pons finding Simon in the corner.
Simon was at Arizona, very highly recruited guard at a high school, a glut of great guards at Arizona, including Alonzo Trier. So he transferred, and it's worked out well, and now St. John just continues to buckle down defensively. Missouri out of sync.
Well, it's a little bit like yesterday, although it happened later in the game for St. John's yesterday, but they wore out Oregon State just with their pressure, their quickness, and that will wear you out. So he's got to try to find a way to get into better flow offense and maybe go to a little bit more of the dribble handoff offense to try to go in down low and force the issue in the paint.
4 turnovers this half already on Missouri. Ahmed drawing contact and drawing a trip to the free throw line. A tie game with 16-10 to play. Missouri was up 16 in the first half. They were really dominating in every facet of this game, but very similar to what we saw yesterday. St. John's was trailing for much of the way against Oregon State. They never get down on themselves. It almost seems like it's all part of the plan.
Part of the plan. Don't look at the scoreboard. Just keep playing, and that comes from the top. Chris Mullen, that's his attitude. Just keep playing the game. We're going to win this game. Just keep playing. Keep doing our thing. We'll make our mistakes. We'll make adjustments during the game, and they've had to make adjustments with Marvin Clark in deep foul trouble, basically non-existent today. A big piece that you'd think again they needed definitely against this size, but other people have stepped up.
Last time St. John's led this game, 6-4 was the score in the early going, and now Missouri has to rally with Kevin Puryear on the bench with 3 fouls. A walk. 5th turnover in the opening stanza of the second half for Mizzou. St. John's has it all clicking right now in Orlando.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Lowe's. Hurry in today for huge savings on all things winter.
Don't miss the Audi 2017 MLS Cup playoffs. Thursday on ESPN, it's Seattle versus Houston at 10:30 Eastern.
On December 15th, fulfill your destiny. Come on! Star Wars: The Last Jedi, rated PG-13.
It's cross-conference chaos of the best kind. The Big Ten ACC Challenge starts Monday.
Alongside the coach, Tim Welsh, Mike Morgan with you here at the Advocare Invitational semifinal. St. John's in Missouri, each winning their first game. St. John's trailed this game by as many as 16. But since then, they've got a 25-7 advantage, and Shamari Pons has been outstanding throughout this tournament.
There's no doubt about it. And go back to what Chris Mullin said to us this morning. He hasn't played well yet offensively, even though his numbers are really good. He said, I think he can play a lot better, and today we're seeing it.
He was shooting 19% from 3 coming into this tournament. Owens on a thunderous slam dunk alley-oop, the feed from Simon.
Well, there's the pro mentality of Chris Mullin. Coming out of these timeouts, they've designed some really nice half-court specials, and can't find anything better than that. Over the top.
Robertson, Coxon fires a 3. Geist with a weak side rebound. And it will be Missouri basketball.
This was a special designed out of the timeout just to drag the defense to one side of the floor, and then on the backside, a little rub screen, and Owens just goes over the top. Missouri really defended it pretty well, but Owens rose up, punched it home.
As a head coach, don't you love seeing that out of a timeout, a play drawn up for an easy bucket?
Absolutely, and a lot of times teams will just relax, think they're just going to run their offense, but they run these quick hitters, and here they come off to the races again.
Woo! Pons leading the break off the rejection by Owens. Robertson to Geist on a 3. Got it, and boy, did Mizzou need that.
They did. Now they've just got to figure out how to slow down number 2, and it's very, very difficult because he is in a rhythm offensively and confident, and if you start throwing doubles at him, he will find other people. He's unselfish.
Lovett on a fadeaway. Almost got the rebound on his back. Geist weaving into front court. Geist all the way. And then a foul on Missouri. Tillman didn't mean to, but he couldn't get his footing without landing on a St. John's player. That's the 3rd foul on Tillman. Remember, Puryear already has 3.
Well, Geist made a really good hustle play, got all the way to the rim, but just the presence of Owens made him miss that, and St. John's just feeling it now with confidence, and now at the rim, Owens, they lack that power, but he's got the hops.
With the foul trouble, Marvin Clark, Owens has had to step up, and he has. Where did that come from? Mid-range jumper.
That comes from confidence from the best player delivering you the ball. When the best player throws the ball to you, you feel like, I should make this shot.
And then Geist was hounded in the back court by Lovett and almost turned it over. I would have nightmares if I had to dribble the ball against Lovett in a game. I wouldn't be able to sleep the night before.
Well, here's the deal with playing with Shamari Pons. When you're better than pretty much everybody on your team without problem, except for the exception of Marcus Lovett, when you know you can do things with the ball that nobody else can do, it's hard for you to trust other people. And that's what Shamari Pons does, though. That's why I'm so impressed with him. He trusts his teammates.
And I'll tell you what, Lovett was in the face of Geist, who could not get open. Mizzou has to call a timeout.
Hi guys, so this is the all-new Chevy Equinox.
It's gorgeous.
It offers heated and ventilated front seats, heated rear seats, a panoramic sunroof, built-in 4G LTE Wi-Fi, Apple CarPlay compatibility, surround vision, safety alert seat, and teen driver technology.
All of that is in this one car.
Yeah, and to get all these features, you would have to buy all 5 of those crossovers.
Whoa.
Oh, and a Lexus NX.
That's insane.
Yep, all 6 of these, and you still wouldn't get everything that's in this Equinox.
Chevy's raising the bar.
6 cars in one.
I like that.
More people shop online for the holidays than ever before, and the United States Postal Service delivers more of those purchases to homes than anyone else in the country, because we know even the smallest things are sometimes the biggest.
Terrific action here in Orlando. St. John's, a furious comeback, once down by 16, now up by 5. Of course, Missouri without Michael Porter. That was the big story coming in. He played 2 minutes in this game against Iowa State. That was the opener. And immediately took himself out. Felt some pain. This was the one bucket that he had. The only 2 points of Michael Porter's career. And immediately had the ice on that lower back hip area. Now having to undergo surgery and likely will not play this season. The number 2 recruit in the country. And so Missouri adjusting to life without Michael Porter. But, so far they've been okay without Michael Porter. They looked terrific yesterday. They looked great in that game against Iowa State. And things were rolling here early on. But, Cuonzo Martin, one of the interesting things he talked to us about was the fact that when we get into close games, I have to battle with this team, particularly the guys that have been here before. They've been beaten up mentally. We have to change the culture, the mindset of, oh no, here we go again.
Well, there's no doubt about it, but they've got a lot more weapons right now than they've had in the past. And you see it really challenged here moving forward because St. John's is feeling very confident.
It's almost a 10-second violation. Nothing coming easy for Mizzou right now, including another turnover, this time on Van Leer.
The thing St. John's was doing yesterday is they were getting up into Oregon State and committing a lot of silly fouls 30 feet from the basket where they're unnecessary. And the reason they won that game is they just backed it up a half a step and still kept the pressure on it. Right now, that's what they're doing to Missouri. They're getting up into Missouri without fouling, doing a good job of pressuring the basketball and rotating on the weak side in the paint to help out with the Missouri size.
St. John's gives it right back. This is rivalry weekend, and we'll have two teams looking to avoid upsets and stay in the college football playoff top four on Saturday. Number 4, Oklahoma takes on West Virginia in Norman at 3:45 Eastern Time. Then at 7:30, the Palmetto Bowl, the Clemson Tigers battle the Gamecocks of South Carolina. Will Muschamp, one of the surprise seasons in the SEC, 8-win team right now in Columbia.
Well, in order to break the pressure, you have to have a little bit of space, and Geist does a good job with Missouri being spaced out on the floor and St. John's denying that wing entry. You just have to put your head down and try to find some room somewhere and be strong with the ball, and Geist got all the way to the rim.
And before that last foul, Missouri, in its last 20 possessions, turned it over 9 times. They have really been taken out of their comfort zone by the Red Storm. Geist splits the freebies. It's a 4-point game. Simon lost it. Just slipped right out of his hands. Robertson, pass inside, an easy stuff for Jordan Barnett.
You see the toughness of Missouri, not wilting under the pressure of St. John's, hanging around, getting themselves back in this game.
Missouri crowd has been silenced for much of this second half. And there's a response, the 3 by Ahmed.
That's a bad job by Kevin Purrier. He's got to get up on Ahmed. Ahmed will put his head down and dribble into trouble, but when he gets his feet set and has room like that, he's dangerous from the outside.
Barnett from deep. Owens, top floor for the rebound, and he's fouled by Porter.
Well, Missouri doing a good job in the last few possessions of finding the open man and scrapping hard. And here you see Purrier just giving Ahmed way too much space. He backs up with just a little bit of a head fake. He's got to get up in him and make him put the ball on the floor.
Tillman back in for Mizzou, so they go 6-11, 6-10, 6-7 in that front court right now. We welcome you to the 12th annual Advocare Invitational. Winners bracket. St. John's was down by 16. They have caught fire since. 13 points now for Ahmed. Mike Morgan with Tim Welsh. The winner of this game will take on the winner of UCF West Virginia coming up later this evening. Phillips. The swing up top, Porter on a 3. And Phillips stepped on the baseline. No, he was pushed out of bounds by Owens. Largest lead for St. John's, 58-50. Our score, 11:55 to play.
Bigger doesn't mean stronger. Don't be defined by a weight class. Bring the heat. Pack a punch. Come back for more. Like a charge. Like lightning in a bottle. Mighty like a pro. The all-new Terrain, the compact SUV from GMC. We are professional grade.
Yes, I'll come to take your side.
St. John's up by 8 with 11:55 to play here in Orlando. Winner's bracket. The winner will take on either UCF or West Virginia. Going on right now at the PK80 presented by State Farm. In the victory bracket, big win by Arkansas. North Carolina takes care of business. How about UConn over Oregon? And Michigan State playing a little short-handed without Miles Bridges. Well, we'll take on UConn at midnight tonight on ESPN.
Solid win for UConn out in the Pacific Northwest against a very good Oregon team. A rebuilding Oregon team, but still very good. And I think it showed me a lot last night down the stretch, making big plays.
Speaking of big plays, Jontay Porter just hit a big three.
Well, that's the first time in a while that Jontay Porter was able to get his feet set in a clean look from the three. And now Cuonzo Martin going to a little zone to change the pace of this game.
How do you like the strategy?
I like it. You got to do something because right now they have no answer for Shamori Pons, whether it's his scoring or him creating for others.
5 on the shot clock. Lovett in the lane. Lost it. Follow. No. And Missouri clears. The zone works on that possession. Phillips weaving, kicking, firing is Robertson on a three. And a quick timeout by Chris Mullen, who says, I need to tell my guys what to do here against this zone.
Well, not only that, but they've got to get out and protect the line. They did a really good job for a long period of time, and now Chris is out on the floor. He better be careful. But here, first it's Porter on the baseline out of bounds. They just kind of lose him out there, and then coming in transition, not communicating, and Lovett slow to get Robertson in the corner.
These are two coaches that we're talking about the mental toughness that Chris Mullen instills in his squad. You can say the same about Cuonzo Martin, another great college player at Purdue, had a cup of coffee in the NBA. Two guys that have been around the game for a long time and do not want to give an inch in this one.
Now, some people may forget, but I haven't. I just remember watching Cuonzo play at Purdue, and there was nobody tougher in the Big Ten back in his day, and I've instilled that in his club, just kind of keeping them brave with the storm and now changing defenses, and St. John's has to be patient. That's not patient.
It's not patient. It's not a good shot. Simon's had a rough game. Porter drives the baseline. Offensive foul.
Missouri thought that Porter had got all the way to the rim, and St. John's help came inside the restricted area, but Ray Steins was right there. And good play by St. John's taking the hit. Yaqua.
Johns continues to be befuddled, though, by this zone. Haven't really gotten a good look yet. Missouri hasn't had many good looks this entire second half. That's not a bad one. Robertson delivers on a big three, and it's a one-point game.
That's a bad job by Marcus Lovett, though. He gambled when he's guarding Robertson on the perimeter. He missed the steal and left Robertson wide open at the three-point line.
$15-footer on the way, knocked down by Ahmed.
That's your best possession. They waited, they ball faked, and they found the opening right at the high post for Ahmed.
Back and fourth we go. St. John's up by a point. Levette harassing Phillips, and Phillips got hit maybe in the eye. I mean, Levette is just like a gnat out there. You can't shake him.
I mean, I don't know how that's not a foul. Levette made the steal, but then he kicked him right in the face. Stelton Steve's standing right there. You have to call that foul on Levette. Watch this. He gets into his body, and then he just lands right on top of him. That is a foul.
Yes.
And I can't believe the refs didn't call it. I mean, he's standing right there. How can you not call that foul?
That's an easy one. Just because it's a loose ball does not give you the liberty to have that kind of contact. Incidental or not, still a foul, and Phillips has to go to the bench.
Well, Terrence Phillips is rock tough. That's why he's out there on the floor, but makes a mistake here. He crosses over right in front, doesn't protect the ball, and Levette has got the quick hands. And listen, Levette made a good hard-nosed play. Nothing against him, but the foul should have been called.
Phillips going to have to get tended to.
You know, clearly it was not a dirty play. It was just a good hustle play, and contact occurred, and you must call the foul, but Missouri will retain possession. But you have to be careful, Levette. When you cross over, you better protect the ball.
Levette just picked up a foul there.
He is constant motion. I mean, you just have to love how hard he plays on both ends of the floor. He's just playing to win, and sometimes his decision making is in question on the offensive end, but he just plays really hard.
He is what Big East basketball was for many, many years. That type of defense was the staple of Big East basketball. Another foul on St. John's. Now they're starting to call it tight.
You miss a foul right in front of your face where a player falls on top of another one, but you're calling the stuff off the ball. But I guess sometimes that happens. The old makeup.
Each team with 16 fouls, 9:19 to play.
Look at Levette just lying on the wing.
Another foul on St. John's. So that's 3 in this possession. Bowen picks up the loose ball. Wants to show off his handle a little bit. And there's part of him that probably just wanted to shoot that from half court just to say he could.
Well, this happened yesterday a little bit in the Oregon State game where they're so aggressive that they fouled on every possession, and they want to keep their aggressive nature out there on the floor, but they've got to back it up a little bit, or it's going to be a parade to the line for Missouri.
So watch Chris Mullen. He's like, I got it, just like at the playground. Go a couple between the legs, behind the back dribble. You want me to shoot a few? No, okay. Here, what, you want the ball? You do not see many coaches do that. On the floor, put on a little display.
Well, Chris has got to settle his team down now. I mean, they played so well in this half to take the lead and take control of this game, but Missouri, you can't just push them over. You've got to knock them out because they are rock tough mentally. But they lack a little bit in talent at some spots. They overcome that just with their grit. You see it. They're not backing down from St. John's at all.
That last review, incidentally, was to check who the shooter was. The verdict is Jonte Porter, so we go to the free throw line here. Phillips 10-2, got the Band-Aid on the forehead, and that young man looks like he's ready to go back in whenever called upon. Porter makes it look easy. Mizzou back on top. Jonte's got 10. 6 ties, 7 lead changes in this game. Missouri once led it by 16. Alley-oop! And look at that finish by Simon.
What a delivery by Pons, and a great play call against the zone. The old shift the ball one side. The backside cutter on the baseline, over the top.
Purrier goes to work. Nice, silky smooth jump hook shot.
Oh, that is real good basketball by Missouri. Going down low to their money man in the lane. Purrier. St. John's has to give a little bit more support.
13 for Purrier. Coming up on the 8-minute mark. Mizzou stays in that zone. Inside, and a foul call that will be on Yakwe.
Now, this is a well-executed play against the zone, and another special that St. John's has in their playbook. And they roll a cutter through, and then on the backside, and they set a very nice screen. What they do is they screen the middle of the zone. You see Ahmed there pinning Porter. There's nobody to cover on the back.
Owens checks back in for Yakwe. Now, partner, this is the kind of game you and I expected. So far, it's lived up to the billing.
Well, it's good. It's been good basketball because it's been back and forth, and you've seen a lot of different styles from both teams to take the lead, to scratch and claw back. Now Missouri back in the lead with this zone.
Yeah, the guy they've really taken out with the zone in terms of scoring is Pons. He's over there on the left wing. Ahmed, that's a tough shot, and a bailout whistle, a late whistle. Ahmed will be at the free throw line. Don't go anywhere. Things getting exciting in Orlando. Missouri up by 3.
In the blink of an eye, cities fall, heroes rise. Just think of all the games, teams, hopes, and dreams that live and die in the blink of an eye. The sports app on Contour from Cox.
This game by 16. Then St. John's came storming back with an 8-point lead in the second before Missouri went to a zone on defense and started to heat up from outside.
Well, what they did is they changed the pace of this game, but they also were much more comfortable on the offensive end, just taking their time, and Terrence Phillips did a nice job of finding Cassius Robertson, and then the gamble by Levette allowed Robertson to spot up from the perimeter, and then they went inside. But listen, it's been their defense. Konzo Martin saw that they were having tremendous difficulty slowing down and defending Shamori Pons, and they went to the 2-3 zone, and it's worked.
Balanced scoring thus far for Mizzou. For St. John's, it's all about the guards, particularly Shamori Pons leading all scorers with 22. And again, the winner of this one will be in the championship game on Sunday, 9:30 Eastern Time at on ESPN2. Mike Morgan alongside Tim Welsh, courtside here. 12th annual Advocare Invitational. Gonzaga won it last year. The first one was won back when it was the Old Spice Classic. That was Arkansas. Great 8-team field again this season in West Virginia. One of the top teams in the land will be playing UCF later on today. The lead is cut to 1, 65-64. We've had 6 ties. We've had 9 lead changes. Geist a little loose with that handle.
Another foul off the ball, and you can see what Missouri's trying to do. They have all they can handle trying to get the ball entered, but once they get the ball to the wing and get into their second and third pass, then they're trying to get the ball inside the Purrier, and St. John's has to be aware of that when he goes to make his moves inside, they should dig down and give whoever's guarding him a little support. And now Chris sees that. He puts Marvin Clark back in the game with 4 fouls.
here. Can't get it to go, and then it gets stuck between the rim and the backboard. So that actually works in Mizzou's favor. The possession arrow going Mizzou's way. You don't see that very often after a free throw miss.
Mullen just shaking his head over there. I've seen about everything.
That's just a tough break.
Clark's got to be careful. He's guarding Geist at the top. He's reaching in with 4 fouls.
A turnover. Robertson threw it away. Lovett feeling it. Lovett drills it.
There's a guy with no conscience and no memory that he hasn't made much today, but he gets into a flow. He gets a little space. That's when he's really dangerous.
Geist almost walked. And then Tillman gets fouled. Tillman's been really quiet today.
Coming down out of transition, Marcus Lovett just gets a little bit of space, and you've got to close out on him much tighter than that. This is happy that he's got another answer out there on the perimeter. Lovett could take this game over in the last 6:46.
You know, Mullen has a soft spot in his heart for lefty shooters, right?
If they go in.
He was one of the best lefty shooters in the history of the game right there. Over 2,400 points in college, nearly 20,000 in the NBA.
Those NBA guys, they're only impressed if the ball goes in the basket. And these guys playing with a lot of confidence right now, but Missouri is answered.
Back to a 1-point game under 7 minutes to go. Pons drives by Geist like he wasn't even there.
Man, like he's left-handed, but you'd never know it because he can go to the right and finish just as easy. And that's where, when he gets a little space, forget it.
Pons now has 50 points in this tournament in less than 2 games. Who's going to step up for Mizzou? Kick out pass, sets up an open 3, and that's exactly what you want. Cassius Robertson, a 3-point demon.
That's a bad play again by Marcus Lovett, just gambling on defense, digging in on the dribbler, leaving Robertson wide open when he was defending him.
7th tie of the afternoon. Lovett feeling it again. Back iron.
It was a better job by Jordan Geist on that defensive possession of getting out tighter on the closeout on Marcus Lovett.
I would think at some point you'd want the ball in the hands of Puryear. Shot clock down to 6. Whole lot of dribbling. Baseline jumper. That'll work too. How about a 3-pointer from the corner by Jordan Barnett?
I didn't think Barnett was going to get it off. And Simon bit on the penetration a little bit, but he did a pretty good job recovering for the contest. But Barnett at 6'7" just rose up, knocked it home.
Our 11th lead change. And blocked out of bounds by Barnett.
Well, Missouri is using that right corner to their advantage. And here you see on the dribble drive, Marcus Lovett leaves Cassius Robertson wide open. And again, the driving kick to the corner. You've got to stay home on ball side if you're guarding a shooter.
A hold call, I believe, on Geist.
Now, that's a hard thing to teach as a coach because you're always saying help, help, help. But if you're guarding a shooter on ball side corner and the dribbler drives that gap, you've got to stay home, hope that the help comes from the backside.
Lovett at the free throw line. It's the 8th team foul, so a 1-on-1 for St. John's. Missouri already has the benefit of the double bonus the rest of the way. Lovett tickles the twine on the first one.
Well, you got to love Marcus Levette, though. I mean, he struggled shooting the ball. He's taken some probably ill-advised shots, but listen, it's Chris Mullins' team, and he lets him shoot. And Levette just keeps playing. He just keeps playing, and he plays hard, and he puts pressure on his dribbler, and Geis has to be very careful with Levette up hawking the ball.
St. John's 14 out of 15 from the free throw line. Huge stat in a game like this, and will certainly be a huge factor in the final 4.5. Porter feeling it. Banks home to three. The bank is open on a Friday afternoon here in Orlando.
No way that happened.
And then Simon drags the pivot foot on a walk.
Well, that was caused again by Jonte Porter and his basketball IQ. Great ability to slide his feet in the middle of that zone, present his big body and long arms, cause the turnover.
A bank three giving Missouri a 4-point lead. Tigers on a 9-2 run. Missouri now 12 for 24 from downtown. Robertson erased, but a goaltend called on Yakwe.
Wow, I'm not sure about that one. We'll have to take a look at that when we come back, but we got to show this one because when you have a smooth touch, good things happen. You use that clean glass right from the top. And a smile.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Lowe's. Hurry in today for huge savings on all things winter. And Aleve Direct Therapy. Get drug-free, deep penetrating, lower back pain relief.
The zip, the buzz, the clip, the clean sweep. The technically, it's just a trim, the do-over, the dang done, the nose nip, the neck notch, the around the ear edge over, the taper, the tweed, the touch-up, and the total takedown. For any man and every man maintenance mission, cultivate the confidence. Be the man. Conair Man.
Get unlimited data for $25 a month when you add a line to the Cricket Unlimited 2 plan. Plus, get a free smartphone when you switch. All on a network that covers over 99% of Americans. Cricket Wireless, something to smile about.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Advocare. To learn more about the comprehensive offering of nutritional products, go to advocare.com. And Gildan. Love your dad, but don't wear his underwear. Gildan. Every thread counts.
Mizzou up 77-71. Another look at that last shot, the goaltending call, and it looks like Tim Welsh, it was a good call.
It was, and Kasum Yakwe gets up so quickly, but you see the ball hits the board above the rim, so that's a very good call. And now St. John's has to stay organized and attack the middle of this zone.
Mizzou has hit its last 8 shots, and Pons a rare miss from close range.
Good job by Porter. He kind of made Pons look at his length and just disrupted his rhythm just a little for him to miss.
Robertson. Finally, Missouri cools off a little bit. Simon finding Pons. Pons. Kick out to Lovett. Lovett, front rim. Well, those are 2 shots that Pons and Lovett have been making for much of this second half. Pons with a driving layup. Lovett with an open 3. Neither one of them dropped. However, a foul on Mizzou will send St. John's to the free throw line.
Well, St. John's did a good job after the miss down at the other end of pushing the ball before Missouri could get their zone set. And it's a good way to attack, especially with Shamori Pons driving the baseline and finding the open man on the perimeter.
Owens knocks down the first. He's got 5. Owens has really had to play big today because Marvin Clark, foul trouble the entire game, has really been a non-factor. Nice job at the line by the former Tennessee Volunteer out of Odenton, Maryland. Mike Morgan alongside Tim Welsh. We welcome you here at the 12th Annual Advocare Invitational at Walt Disney World. Winners bracket, Missouri and St. John's in a seesaw affair. 11 lead changes in this one. 7 ties. The winner advances to the championship game Sunday. Porter on an open 3. No bank that time. Just nothing but net.
Well, that was just a great job by Geist, drawing the defense and having the feel that he drew Porter's man into the lane, the presence of mind to kick it back.
16 for Jonte. Danger zone now for St. John's. Levette gets it to go. A leaner.
Good job by Marcus Levette. Being patient, finding that gap with the floater in the middle.
Under 2 minutes to play. 5-point game. Ambitious shot by Robertson, and he connects.
Well, that was under duress. Cassius.
5 3-pointers for Cassius Robertson. St. John's with a miss on the other end. And now Mizzou can bleed some clock.
Well, they need to take their time, but understand that the ball hawkers are out on the perimeter.
Porter on another 3. Big possession here for the Red Storm. Ahmed thought about it, then had it blocked. Pons down low, missed it right in front of the rim.
Well, St. John's has to foul now. They have to extend this game somehow.
Ooh. Pons thought he had all ball, poked it from behind, but it'll be a trip to the free throw line for Mizzou with 1 minute and 1 second remaining. Timeout on the floor. Now, partner, this has been the game that we had hoped for and quite frankly anticipated. Back and forth we go, and how about Jonte Porter?
Job by Jordan Geist. He just drove down that lane and drew Tariq Owens with him. He felt Owens, and now a little dribble handoff. You can't go underneath. You've got to support over the top against good three-point shooters.
Tonight on SportsCenter at 11 p.m. Eastern Time after Virginia Tech and Virginia. It's the day before the Iron Bowl. Marty Smith one-on-one with head coach Nick Saban of Alabama. Also a look back at what might be the greatest Ohio State and Michigan game of them all. And the Cavs go for 7 in a row. What's changed for LeBron and his team? We'll find out. SportsCenter 11 p.m. and as always streaming live on the ESPN app.
Well, Cuonzo Martin really did a great job changing defenses, and if they can get through this game, it'll be an interesting final on Sunday night.
Missouri St. John's, the winner of this one, takes on the winner of UCF West Virginia Sunday, 9:30 Eastern on ESPN2. You give UCF a chance at all against the Mountaineers?
Well, with B.J. Taylor being out, that's a big loss for UCF, especially not only as a scorer, but another solid, experienced ball handler against that pressure. But listen, we are in Orlando, and even though a lot of people will be at the football game later today, UCF and USF, I'm sure their faithful will be here to support.
Big one for Scott Frost and his undefeated Knights of UCF on the gridiron. That'll be 3:30 on ABC. Knocked out of bounds, out of the hands of Geist. It will remain Missouri basketball with 11 on the shot clock. Soft bump with 9 on the shot clock, and that's kind of the worst of both worlds. Either you foul early or you play it out. Instead, they foul with 9 seconds left, and that's the 5th foul on Owens.
Well, they were trying to be aggressive. They were trying to trap, and, Owens got caught out on a guard. And the problem is that St. John's just didn't attack that zone like they should have. And, Pons still made some very good plays against the zone. Ahmed got loose a couple times, and Simon did a nice job. But then on this end of the floor, they did not cover the three-point line on some dribble drives and kicks, and then some dribble handoffs as well.
Advocare player of the game. He must have had some extra spark at halftime. Cassius Robertson, 17 points, 5 of 7 from three-point land. That's what he came to Mizzou to do. A grad transfer from Canisius. If they get nothing else but Cassius Robertson being efficient for three-point land, they've got a much-needed weapon. 14 of those points, by the way, coming in the second half.
Well, with Blake Harris, Jordan Dice, and Terrence Phillips playing the point, Cassius Robertson's like, I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to slide off the ball. I'm going to pick and pop in the corners and knock down threes.
That's a no-no. A foul late, giving Pons a chance at a three-point play.
Missouri kind of relaxed and never got their defense set. This again shows Pons and his ability to go hard with the right.
Jonte Porter just fouled out of the game. I don't think he is aware of that until now. They got good minutes out of Jonte Porter today, who continues to shoot the basketball well.
Well, St. John's, after this free throw, they're going to slap their press on. And Missouri, that's why when Porter comes out, Conzo Martin inserted a guard for him instead of another big because he knows what's coming next. It's going to be traps and full court pressure, and they need as many ball handlers as they can against St. John's quickness.
Pons completes the three-point play. He's got 27, but the Mizzou lead is 7. Robertson, dangerous cross-court pass. Phillips corrals it ahead to Robertson. Now you got a foul.
Well, great play by Phillips. Just took his time, spaced the court, ball faked, and got the ball to the open man on the other side of the floor.
Well, Missouri appears to be in the driver's seat and would be one win away from capturing a championship here in Orlando. And that would go a long way for a team that, again, is still finding itself, gaining confidence week by week, trying to find out the roles of everybody on this team, which has a lot of new faces on it.
Conzo Martin is motioning to his team to get back and get this defense set.
Violation on Dice getting in early after this free throw.
Better pay attention to Pons. Now, Pons has been able to knife into the middle of this zone is when they've come up and set that little ball screen at the top, and there he goes again.
He banks it home. 5-point game.
And that's just way too easy against a set defense. 1 against 5. Someone's got to step over, and that's the problem at the end of the game. Sometimes you're afraid to foul, and the door opens up, and you allow a team just to get a quick layup.
Are we debating whether or not there was a delay of game? Oh, we're debating whether or not the substitution was allowed because it was not a dead ball, so Phillips has to go back on the bench. Conzo trying to sneak in an extra ball handler here.
Well, if he has a problem, he's got a timeout in his pocket. For sure, he should probably use it.
Barnett gets fouled, and he'll go to the free throw line. 25.5 seconds remaining. Crazier things have happened, but St. John's needs a little help with Missouri missing some free throws.
Well, Missouri, I'm impressed with them getting organized against the pressure, and they're well schooled. They know what they're doing. They've got the floor space. They didn't panic. They found their open man, and then when the guards were defended, Barnett flashed into the open area.
What about a potential Mizzou-West Virginia matchup? How would you see that one unfolding?
That would be, as we like to say, physicality at its best. No doubt about it. Listen, I like this Missouri team. I like St. John's, too. I think these teams will both have a great chance to play in the NCAA tournament because that depth, you got strong defense and good guard play.
Pons with a nifty reverse layup. Didn't take long. Pons with 31. Barnett hammered.
I'm not sure St. John's is aware, but when Robertson was bottled up in the corner, I mean, right there, instead of trying to defend him there, I would try to tie up the ball. They have the arrow. And in a case like that, when you have the arrow, and if the offensive player puts the ball down on his waist, try to tie him up so you can get the ball back.
Clark fouls out of the game. St. John's led this game 58-50 with 12 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. From that point on, Missouri hit 8 consecutive three-pointers. And then eventually took an 8-point lead. St. John's came storming back. Really just a well-played, competitive game between two teams and, let's say, two programs that appear to be on the rise. 3 would be nice here. Pons will take it. Not that time, and that should be all she wrote. Missouri is going to advance to the championship game, and the Tigers faithful who made the trip to Orlando enjoying the moment.
This is a real team effort from Missouri. It started with their just ability to not back down when St. John's kind of knocked them right on their backside and changed the course of the game, the pace of the game a little bit. St. John's did a pretty good job against their zone, but not good enough. And then really where they lost the game is Missouri spaced the court and got everybody involved, not only inside, but then from the three-point line.
Missouri is a proud basketball program with great tradition. They haven't had a whole lot to celebrate the last few years. They have the potential to have a lot to celebrate come Sunday as they advance to the championship game. Will take on the winner of UCF West Virginia. Final score 90-82. Missouri victorious over the Red Storm of St. John's. Tim Welsh, some final thoughts.
Final thoughts is that Missouri is a lot better than I thought coming into this tournament. You know, everyone talks about Michael Porter. That's obviously a devastating loss for the season, but they have a lot of other players, including his brother, and they're getting good guard play, which has opened up a lot of different things for them and a lot of different ways to play.
Now you take a look at the updated bracket. Missouri will no doubt be watching ESPN2 at 5 o'clock Eastern Time when UCF takes on West Virginia. And Elway play in the championship game on ESPN2 at 9:30 Eastern Time. Final score, Mizzou 90, St. John's 82. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you soon here from Orlando, Florida.